All right, guys, welcome to the Startup Stage podcast. Today we got Patrick McGuire. He is our head of investment and chief revenue officer for us. How you doing today, Pat?
I'm awesome, Jeremy. This has been great. Thank you so much, bud.
Well, I'm sure most people probably have picked up a little bit of your accent. You are not native to the U.S. However, you are our northern neighbor. We got a couple of great things going on with StartupStage, and I'm so glad that you're kind of a part of it. One of the things that I wanted to just kind of start off really quick, because you and I've known each other for a little while now. Like, what was it for you that made you want to kind of join StartupStage and be a part of what we have going on?
Yeah, I mean, the first and obvious thing is I'm a diseased entrepreneur, right? So I'm completely unemployable in a good way. I mean, I could be employed for the right reasons, of course. It's just that I love the entrepreneurship. I love drive. I love startups. I love the energy and the passion that comes from it. Some people may already pick up on it. I'm a high energy guy, probably borderline adrenaline junkie. You know, there's things that I get addicted to. But that's the startup life. And as much as I've many times tried to actually personally move away from it, I can't. I love it and I enjoy it far too much. Now I've pivoted to do different things within that, so I still stay, very comfortable, very happy with it. But StartupStage has that energy, and I've worked with other accelerators as well. Altitude Accelerator. I've worked with companies that are focused on just booking meetings, so they're selling meetings for investors and founders, if you will, trying to make that connection. And the passion of creating an accelerator and the passion of being with startup founders and entrepreneurs, that's what I'm passionate about. I want to make change and impact others. I love to help others. That's my fatal flaw, by the way, Jeremy. And with what we're doing at StartupStage, that's what got my attention. Hey, we can create a true, I'll call it the anti-accelerator as we talk about it, but it is It is an accelerator. Don't get me wrong. But the anti is the way that we deploy it. The anti is the way that we, well, you and now us, the way that we actually engage, the way that we deliver, the way that we'd rather see you work with a friend, partner, referral, recommendation, and be successful, rather than saying that we're the ones on the soapbox and only we can do it. We'd rather consult and provide our brain space darn near for free, most cases free, to make sure that others do better. And that's what's really exciting for me. And that's why I said, well, let's talk about this. StartupStage is super cool. I've been involved with Altitude Accelerator, Think Fish, been with Code Launch and Improving, and I could keep going. Hype Sports Innovation. I mean, a whole bunch of accelerators that don't always deliver successful companies on the outside. They really just give them some tools and they hope that they work, and they make them go through these 10 steps, and not every company can go step 1 to 10.
Yep. So let me ask you this. I mean, obviously a lot of feedback that we get from our founders and people that I talk to every single week, they love the anti-accelerator. They're like, first of all, what is that? I don't even know what it is, but I love it.
Zero equity.
I know, right? And it's like, it's so simple. So, I mean, and you kind of, laid it up for us too, right? Is, we call ourselves the anti-accelerator. Do we accelerate companies? Of course we do, but we just don't do it the way the current accelerators do. We are here disrupting the industry by keeping the equity with our founders where it should be, and then making it a membership model, right? But then providing the Swiss Army knife of everything that people need to grow and scale their company and stay in control. So if you want to scale within 90 days, we can do that. If you want to scale over 6 months to a year, we can do that as well. You stay in control. So let's talk a little bit about funding and strategy. This is obviously your forte. This is why you're a part of this. And we'll just kind of go through a couple of questions and maybe kind of let founders know what they need to know about specifically funding strategy. That is one of the top 2 things, obviously, right now, is getting funding. Right now, 70% of all funding is going to AI companies only. So there's a small 30% up for grabs if you are looking for VC or PE kind of money. So that was an interesting stat I recently read. But, we have a vast amount of private investors that are looking at different types of companies by industry, by demographic in a lot of ways too. So we do have a matching process where we can match founders to the right investor that's ready to invest in their product and their company now. So
I want to remind people that when Jeremy says you get a co-founder, going back to its zero equity, we operate as a co-founder brain space for you. We're not taking your position or charging you for that or taking equity from the company. It's a co-founder to mirror and bounce ideas off of versus a co-founder who's taking away your brilliant idea and equity. We're here to compound. We're here to add it. It's an additive experience. And that's really important. The other thing too is you talked about the fundraising. We're going to talk about that more, but being able to access funds without giving away the most precious commodity that you have today, your equity, 100%. Is unbelievable. And Jeremy, I've told you this, we've had this talk, is I brought friends in who were coming into a company and we gave them a percentage of equity. They were going to give us their money anyways as investors. And this was really early. My partner and I had put close to a few $100,000 in ourselves up front, plus sweat equity for 2 years. They watched us. They're bringing the cash. We were told by some suggested advisors, some loose advisors, that we should bring in an investment banker to be part of this. We had to pay them up front to be part of it. They took their commission and a success fee. They took their monthly fee. They took their upfront fee. And in the end, 11 months later, my friend benefited to the sum of about $2.7 million for the equity that he bought because we got acquired. And I'm like, that is the most precious thing. And I learned that lesson many years ago. Do not sell your equity too early. You don't have an equity problem. You don't have a fundraising problem. You have a client acquisition problem. Go get clients, generate revenue, and then you tell the investors what you're going to allow them to buy when you're ready. Anyways, that's another side note, but that's why people like us love to do this. And as 100%. Multiple time founders, co-founder brain space partners, we're here to help.
Yeah, it's a fabulous point, obviously. And something that is I think one of the largest things and benefits that we offer. Yes, we have so many different tools and discounts and all this stuff in the community, right? And all this great stuff. But I still fundamentally think that there's the top two things that really set us apart outside of the equity component, right? Not taking it, is the community of other like-minded founders that are serious about founding their company. I mean, think about it. I see it all the time, man. Reddit, X, all these different, mediums, different places within Slack. You have people out there that are, kind of pouring their hearts out saying, hey, man, I've been in business for a little while. Like, I just need some advice here. And then somebody will pop up with like really the dumbest answer, like, hey, you're not cut out to be a founder. You should go to work for Walmart or whatever the case may be. It's like, come on. First of all, you don't kick a person while they're down. That's not helpful. So like, you can get kind of that support here. But to your point, the co-founder part of it, that is the beginning, man. It is the absolute beginning of everything. It's how we get to know each and every founder. It's how we get to know what they really want to get out of this, right? What we say legacy is. Like, where do you want this to go? Do you want to go IPO? Do you want to just take this to a certain, ARR and sell it? Do you want to acquire? Do you want to be, do you want to merge? What is it? And then we help them individually do it. We don't do any cohorts. We don't do any of this other stuff where people are kind of forced to be in a certain thing. Everything is one-on-one, kick love. But the biggest problem that we solve, and we may have talked about this on other shows in the past, but we always are showing and teaching our founders what they don't know. Right. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, and we're also keeping them focused on the right things by removing obstacles that are currently weighing them down, like funding, right? We can get that done. We can get you approved within 36 hours. How am I going to get MRR in the next 90 days? Because I don't see it. Like, I don't see it for the next year. We had a founder that you actually helped turn around within a week. And then she was able to see the MRR. So it's like, it's amazing when we talk to these founders, as they're telling us their story one-on-one, which is great. We're like, opportunity, 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 opportunity. And it's like, and they're telling us at the same time, we're seeing this, like, I don't see the opportunity. I'm like, well, we do. Let us help you. So
That's
it's
what I
cool
love
because
doing as a chief
yeah,
revenue officer, a fractional chief revenue officer.
yeah,
You're a partner in that. I see opportunities and ways to generate revenue all over the place. And it may
yeah.
lead to fundraising, which we're going to talk about here. But reality is, ideally, I'd love to help companies make sure that they're generating revenue before they go after fundraising.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into that right now too. So we're gonna talk a little bit about fundraising and strategy prep, and there's a bunch of information out there. Most of it's not really relevant, I think, for a lot of individuals. I think a lot of what we see as people come in, most founders think they need more than they really do. And that's because they can't see the MRR quick enough, or they just, hey, it feels better to have 2 million cushion, if you will. But yet, when you start really looking at the gears and how everything goes together and putting in the missing pieces, right? The MR does come a lot faster, and you can stay bootstrapped, and you don't necessarily need maybe as much, if any at all. So,
Yeah.
we have founders that do both. They have founders that just make them feel better to know that it's sitting there and they don't take it, or they do end up taking, some of that money to help extend that runway a little bit. But that's what we're all about. So when a founder is kind of thinking about this, like when they're starting to think about raising capital, right?
Yeah.
What should they actually do?
Make sure you believe in yourself. Make sure you believe in your product or your company or whatever it is you're doing. Are you a fundable founder? Ask yourself this. Are you a fundable founder, and do you have a fundable opportunity? And then validate the narrative. Before you build a deck or a data room, you basically need a story that investors or you can lean into, that investors will lean into, the big vision, the credible plan, believable path to the ROI. We got to get them to an MRR or ARR, depending on what they're doing. Most founders skip this and they lead with product, and then they're selling the investor on a product, not on the vision and the future and the team. That's a huge mistake.
So one of the things that we actually put it together is to kind of help founders not only decide kind of what type of investment, because there are many types. We do have a couple free tools on our website where if you go to the bottom under funding and also at the top, you can actually fill them out. They're free. And also you can even apply for funding. It's free as well. But, a lot of the questions that kind of come up is like, how do I know how much I need? What is my company valuation really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people are kind of going for their Series A and they want to make sure that, the numbers are right. And so we did create an accurate tool that was developed by our investment team, and, that asks all the right questions and adds in the current multipliers based on industry. So it does kind of help them, because what we have seen is a lot of people come with nice, beautiful pitch decks. And then we ask them about the valuation piece and they're like, well, that's what I think we're going to do. Like, it's just one of those things that it's hard. Like, how do you evaluate your company? So with that said, I mean, they do have the tool. But I think more importantly, how does somebody know, like, when they're ready to go Series A, right? So I mean, you've been doing this a long time. And what's one of the common things that you look for when you know a founder is Series A ready?
Yeah. I mean, I'd start with, how do you know that they're ready for seed, right? Like, they got to start somewhere. You can't just say, I got the best idea in the world is this new AI tool and it's really incredible, and we're going right to series. Or they say, get me a bunch of meetings with VCs or PEs. I'm like, and I'll say, buddy, back up a little bit. Have you ever been a founder before? Have you had a successful exit? Do you have a team? Do you have a product? Can you make this repeatable? So when you've proven something is repeatable, either as a founder, multiple time founder, or a multiple time repeatable sales of a product, for the seed, that's when you got some real traction. That's when people say, hey, I will do this for free. Like, so let's say we went to beta. We give beta. We let people in for free using beta. And then, okay, great. That's really awesome. Now charge them. And if they're ready to pay for it, even $1, you've got user traction. Or maybe you got to have more tech validation. For Series A, it's typically that growth and the retention and the scalable GTM model. You can't just say, well, if you give me $1 million or $5 million, we're going to 10x, 20x this company. So if you're still guessing, you're not ready to raise seed, let alone series.
That's a great That's a great lead into my next question for you too, which is, what makes a startup investable?
The fundable narrative sells the upside. I've seen incredible pitches on napkins, like literally on napkins at coffee shops. And I'm going, I got to get in on that. And it wasn't because of the napkin. It wasn't because of the beautiful deck, because it didn't exist. It was the founder. It was the person, the personality, the big vision that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to remember that, hey, look, whether you're raising capital at a seed round or a Series A round, it's a sales funnel. People don't think about that. You need sales. I believe in that strongly, so you can leverage the investor, of course. But selling equity is sales. So you need a sales funnel for equity, just like you do for your product, that has clarity, momentum, and belief. And that comes from that narrative that sells the upside. The difference is persuasion, not design. Decks are design, persuasion is personality. P and P and D&D, you get that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, also, we all know this too. Investors are really looking at the founder, and it really is how much trust are they willing to put in there, and that trust being how much money are they willing to give up for that potential risk in that particular founder. So if they're not completely certain of a lot of things, either they need to get certain, have the plan, and be able to kind of articulate that well, and make sure that they're ready. But, again, to your point too, and that's kind of what our goal is to make sure that they are absolutely ready, right? So we have build, launch, and scale for that particular purpose. So we'll meet you where you are, but then we get them at kind of alpha and then really beta, because that's when really things start hitting a different pace, and people start realizing, okay, now I'm no longer having to kind of piecemeal this thing together with Zapier or whatever the few different tools are. We need to build some really cool stuff and some infrastructure that's going to last. And so our CTO gets involved and all those kinds of things, right? So having said all that, like all of those pieces kind of come together, but along the way, there's always that kind of common thread of seed money, right? And then the investment, and then going into the Series A and Series B. And then this year alone, like we've seen a lot of big funding, VCs, we'll call it, and PEs, really, they have kind of flipped the script where they were looking for Series A, Series B, are now like, hey, we're now going after the folks that we actually cater to, right? The pre-seed folks. And they realize that that's a huge gap that we're filling and we're helping. And they're trying to do the same thing as well. Not as successfully as us, not as well organized as us, but it is a huge opportunity for folks, right? Because they're in this middle area of, I know what I'm doing, I know what I want, I know who my ICP is, I need a little bit of money to help me through so they can really take it to this level. And we've seen these like leaps of our founders kind of just with small amounts actually be able to do it. That's why our funding makes a lot of sense. So that seems to be kind of the trend going on right now. And to go back a little bit too, one of the things I found out, which I did not know, and you probably are very well aware of this, is that I was talking to a couple different founders and their mentalities were different. And so a lot of the founders on the East Coast and in the middle part of the country, all, MVP process, they, are validating whoever their ICP is, all these other things. But then the West Coast, especially around Silicon Valley, they have that idea on the napkin and they're immediately reaching out to investment, and before it's even developed, like they're starting it. And as I was talking to some of those founders, they're like, we don't know any other way. We've been doing it like that forever. So it's weird to us that you guys go through all of this work and bootstrap yourselves to, and then get investment. So I think that's changed a little bit, but I don't know. Have you seen the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I do see that. The idea of napkin, that's persuasion, right? That's the person. I'm not even sure if I've got something yet, but I think I can pitch it. Somebody knew somebody, and they wrote an idea, and literally I was told it was on a piece of paper, not a napkin. But this idea for Twitter came on a piece of paper. And if you look back at some of the early investors, somebody knew somebody that knew somebody that was called Ashton Kutcher. And the guy's like, I mean, let's go. And
Yeah, that's great.
They don't all exist. So all of us that are running around pie in the sky, crazy dreams and ideas, I've got a bunch of them. And if I could just put napkins together and hand them out and people just throw money at me, I would probably do it. But my integrity and my ethics, that all comes into play. But it is persuasion.
Yeah.
I don't personally feel I'm that person that's super uber persuasive. I'm not going to go out and sell you something that may not be real yet.
Exactly.
There are people that are amazing at that, and they are getting seed money for those napkins and crazy ideas. My personality, and this has to be for every founder, Jeremy, when you're raising capital, you must be persuasive and you must be diligent with a good product, right? As we talked about before, you have to have some good design. That doesn't mean it's finished product all the time. Good design and persuasion.
Yeah. So obviously you're leading into another question that is perfect, kind of coming up. A lot of the founders we meet with as well have sometimes some difficulty, with their go-to-market strategy. It's one of the things that we actually, do. And oftentimes they are going after a broader kind of, they call it ICP, right? But it's just kind of like a shotgun effect when they should really be rifling into one or two different specialized areas that would give them a higher rate of return quicker. And, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because you kind of think, hey, just blast this thing out everywhere. But that's not really the best way to do it, or usually the most efficient way to do it. So sometimes going slower is the right way to do it. But go-to-market strategy always plays a key role, right, in building your business. But it also has a lot to do with fundraising.
Fundraising, capital, it is a go-to-market strategy. Like I said, it's a sales funnel of its own. You got to make sure you have the things that fit, whether you're going after series or seed. Is it founder market fit? Is it product market fit? Is there traction signals? At Series A category, investors are looking for more operational proof, growth, the CAC, LTV, retention, scalable infrastructure. At the seed series, they're more open to this vision, and the Series A sells execution, if you will. What I would also remind founders is your go-to-market strategy. You can go to market for very little money before you even launch a product. That probably sounds pretty odd. How do I go to market without a product? But you can tell them the journey you're on, especially if it's a founder-led company or founder-led product. And I like to use this feel, felt, found. Hey, I know exactly how you, and I can say this to founders right now, anybody in founding and in technology, sports tech, nutrition, health tech, fintech, I can say this, and others, I can say this without hesitation. I know how you feel. I felt the exact same way. And here's what I found. And that's the answer. And that's actually, by the way, a very simple 3-step proven model. I know how you feel, the end user over there, or the investor. Yeah. I felt the same way when I thought about creating this problem, or I found this problem that I have. I felt the same way about coming up with a solution. Here's what I found. And I made this really cool tool. And you can invite people into that journey with you. A lot of people are doing it right now on LinkedIn and Twitter and other places where their audience lives and breathes, and so do they, and they're finding problems and they're providing solutions to the problems. And they're saying, you know what? You sound really cool when they get a lot of comments. You sound really cool. You sound like you have the same problem. I'd like to have a quick call with you and maybe get you to beta this out and give me some ideas, or, see if you like it or not. They give them a free beta. You just got traction. You just got a user. And then you're going to tell them that, hey, you're going to get the founding members pricing or whatever. And, reality is you're building them in for a low price to get them to a higher price, or to get the next people at a higher price to get the Series A money coming in. But you're starting with the end in goal in mind at the beginning.
What's interesting is that kind of feel felt model, right? Which has been around for a long time. And you're right. It's one of those things that most things that have been around a long time are bulletproof and they work, right? And sometimes they work better at certain times, than others. But at the end of the day, it's really kind of how we're built, right? I mean, and that's what I love about StartupStage is like, a lot of accelerators are just there to do that simple thing. It's a bunch of pro bankers that got money. They preach a little bit of theory, have you do a lot of like legwork and things like that. There is no feel, felt, nothing. It's like you got 90 days. We got to get you going, and you got a lot of stuff to do, right? And then here's this big check. And so one of the things I love about what we're doing is, everybody is a serial entrepreneur, is a founder, multiple time founder, exits, the whole 9 yards. And so like, we literally are in that position to be like exactly what you said. I feel you. I've been there. I felt the same way, right? And so we lived this, right? And we did not have something like StartupStage, right? To kind of help us get there. We had to kind of feel around in the dark. We had to like fall off a few cliffs, and just
Jerry,
hope we don't die.
My first big, it was an HR tech thing. That was the first real big one that I loved doing and had a lot of fun. I did almost all the work. My partner was brilliant in the HR tech space. He was an incredible consultant, and he says, I want to do software and stuff. But in terms of design and color and everything you had to do to build the company, I did almost everything. I let him be brilliant in his space. He let me be brilliant in my space. I wouldn't say brilliant. I was good enough and just driven to the point that when we raised capital with an angel group and was introduced to an accelerator, which was called the Rick Center, which then became Altitude Accelerator, which I quickly renamed when I joined the board. They said, why didn't you guys ever come through us? And I was really blessed by Karen Grant, who stepped in when that conversation came up with Pam Banks from Altitude Accelerator. Karen with Angel One said, because they were too far ahead, they were already past the accelerator model. I was like, wow, that's awesome. So, sometimes you don't need to be in that position. You don't have to follow all the steps. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you need the capital. Sometimes you need the mental capital. Sometimes you need the network. So when we run our anti-accelerator here with StartupStage, we meet you at your needs. And all of us have gone through the exact same problems. So we can say we felt the same way. We felt imposter syndrome. Like, can we do this? This is nuts. We sort of found our way through it. And sometimes there are great founders that are going to find their way through it without an accelerator. But they might need the introduction into the capital. We're very fortunate at StartupStage to have that opportunity to do both. Help companies accelerate and help them accelerate their fundraising. Yeah,
the biggest thing I love to see is anytime we're talking to a founder, or I'm talking to a founder specifically, and their eyes go like big. Like, you just see the whites of their eyes, because at that moment, you just told them something they didn't know, and they didn't realize they didn't know it until that point in the conversation. And so I really think that's been huge, right? And so because we've been in these situations before, and because, yes, there's a lot of different pathways, especially these days, to maybe take the quickest path. It's not always the right way, because if it doesn't connect to the way you want to have your brand strategy, your brand voice, you can easily break trust. And when you've got a crowded marketplace, especially these days where you've got AI everything and people are building so fast, you've got to really differentiate yourself. And you really have to make sure that you are putting out what it is that, makes you different from everybody else. And a lot of times it's not a feature. A lot of times it's the fact that maybe you just built it better. Maybe it's more bulletproof. Maybe it's, easier to use and not so many clicks to get there. We have that conversation all the time with founders. It's like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Get it out there and let the people tell you how to kind of refine it and really help you kind of refine the tool. And then you also get to understand what your ICP really is. In a lot of cases, you're generally right, but then you find these 2 or 3 different areas that you can really hone in on. And those people you didn't really necessarily think about, but ends up being a great match. That's where they're looking for, is who can I trust? Who's got the right people? And who's got them all in one place, right? Thankfully, StartupStage, we've done that.
I'm going to jump on that real quick, is I'm going to say, if you're not embarrassed about the first version of your product, you waited too long.
Yeah, that's great.
And you're always going to iterate. It's not about selling a new product. It's about selling the best version of the product you have. You can always sell the features or increase pricing with features or sell a new bolt-on. You're always going to make it better.
what really truly makes a founder successful is that grit, that word that is
It's a
not in
weird
their
word, grit,
vocabulary.
but it actually exists, doesn't it?
It 100%. And they have grit and they don't have quit in them.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do also, obviously at startup stage, is we got to get back to the investment. We do warm intros on specific plans where it makes sense, obviously, because we meet everybody where they are. But when it becomes time in kind of the launch, usually scale area, we're making these warm introductions. We know a lot of investors out there, but are there any myths out there? And if so, like, what are some of the biggest myths about these quote unquote warm intros?
There's great warm intros that exist. There truly are. My friend, truly my friend. That's a real warm intro. But let's sort of back it up and let's go cold first. Cold intros are in fact sometimes your best introduction. So the cold outreach gets a cold intro. It's your job we'll go back to what we said earlier, to present design, but to be persuasive. And then it's no longer cold, it's warm. Be a person. Now, there's some really cool engineers out there, but I'm going to recommend that if you're a hardcore engineer, hardcore accountant style personality, you might want your partner to present. Just trying to be friendly. You need to build that relationship. You need to be personal.
Yeah.
This is a friend. These are two friends. In our case, two guys getting together to talk about a great idea. It's two people sitting down at a table or a digital screen to present an opportunity that we think we're going to enjoy. We think it can make money. But the thing that I have to put and preface this is, will we have fun doing it? And do we like each other? So I'm going to say warm intros. You can make any intro warm. It's how you do it. There is a strategy for that. I'd love to talk to people about that. We always do it. But truly hot intros are, hey, and I'm going to use one right now. I've got someone that's in the real estate venture space. I've got a funding partner that comes in that is in real estate venture. He's been part of my network for years. And you two have been my friends forever. Why aren't you friends? Why don't you bring your project? Why doesn't he bring his money? And why don't we make this friendship profitable? That's what I want.
It's so funny. I mean, we see a lot of that. Obviously, you can attest to this too. We see founders come in with a very similar, or I wouldn't say similar, very complementary product to another founder's. And, before you know it, kind of some discussions are happening. And hey, does this make sense to put the two together to see if it makes sense, right? And so the two could actually become one because they kind of help each other out, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing that you were talking about too, just finding the right match. So for somebody who doesn't have someone like us that's creating the warm intros and really just kind of doing it cold on their own, like many founders do, right? Like how many people would a founder does a founder actually on average have to reach out to before they're finding some of those people to actually invest in their idea? And then, what can they expect? Like how many touch points is it going to be, or how many phone calls, things like that?
Yeah. Well, if you call me and ask me, I can either give you a warm intro that is like one call and you've got a shot. It's a 50-50. Whether you come across or not is irrelevant, but I'm going to do that diligence. That's someone like myself. And let's just make sure we cover another myth real quick, is that SEC compliance is absolutely required. But there are platforms for your fundraising that manage all that KYC, all the due diligence, all the transactions, all the legals. There are some platforms, and reach out to Jeremy and myself, and I can get you connected to one that does all that for you. But if someone just says, hi, this is my friend, they have funds, and you have a great opportunity, as long as you document that, that's okay. It's not dirty and it's not scary. Most people are so scared of this SEC that they don't do the fundraising. So let's go back to what your real question was, though, is what does a scalable outreach, investor outreach system look like? Well, let's start with cold. Your cold should be lukewarm to start. The best place to start, honestly, everybody says it, is friends and family. I'm going to say the fundraising needs to look like this. Founder funds, friends and family, which is also including your extended friends. How about I use a tool out there called LinkedIn? All of us in business probably know what LinkedIn is. Take your target list of 100 to 200 or whatever it's going to be, 8,500 people. Don't go right to an angel investor list because you're paying for those and it's usually crap. I want you to first say to my friends and family, hey, I really got this great idea. I think I'm going to do this. I would like your opinion on it. And they give you their opinion. When you've done that 2 or 3 messages in, you say, is this something you'd like to test out? Yes. Great. Can you give me feedback? Yes. Great. And then the next third touch is, would you invest in something like this? But I do it in a different way. Do you know anyone that would invest in something like this? And they say, you're a jerk, Pat. I would. Right? So
well, it does make them feel like left out a little bit. Like, well, wait, why can't I do it? I mean, that makes sense.
FOMO.
Yeah. Wow. So actually, I mean, literally, this is one of your things, and I know this about you because I've known you a while too. But you often say, build FOMO into your raise, right? And so that's obviously a great way to do it. But it's a very natural way as well. Like it's not, like, again, I think I've used this many times. It comes from Jeffrey Gitomer. He actually lives here in Charlotte still, I believe. But I read a book from him. It's like, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. And the moment I read that, I mean, it pierced me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm one of those people. Like, and even though I've been in business development my entire life, it's like I've never liked being that, right? I just didn't want to be put in that association. I don't know, because there was something weird about sales, and like, because I did it different. It was always about like making sure that, number one, I believed in the product and the company that I was representing. Because I can't do it otherwise, right? Now, there's some people out there that doesn't matter what it is, they can sell anything to anybody. But that FOMO thing is real. And I like, how you said that. I like how you put it. I think it's going to be obviously a useful tool for people. But I also think it's not even just for investors, right? But it's kind of putting it into your initial users, right? And kind of creating a little bit of that too, as you're starting to kind of grow and bring those individuals on, so that, you can scale at a nice pace. Right?
And you asked me something about the touch points. So I'm going to put a challenge out there for anyone that is either trying to raise funds or get clients or beta users, testers feedback right now, or look at your deck. When you're ready for whatever the thing is, whether it's reviewing your pitch deck or using your tool or investing, I want you to take your LinkedIn. I want you to, and this has nothing to do with who they are, what their connection is to you, or what the industry they're in. I want you to send out 100 very simple 1-sentence polite soft teasers, 100 messages a day for 30 days.
Wow, that's a lot.
Tell me what your results are. And for anyone listening to this or sees this, I'm serious. Send me a message. Tweet me, LinkedIn me, DM me, email me, get into Founders Circle. Tell me what your results are. If you do 100 legitimate today and the next day for 30 days, tell me you don't have capital coming in, and I'm going to tell you that you're a fake, a liar, a fraud, something. But you're
That's a lot,
100 messages a day for 30 days. You're going to be guaranteed to get funds or have beta users. And in terms of warm, Jeremy, we want to be able to track cold outreach to warm to conversion. You're going to need a CRM to track it all, sort of an SDR playbook, if you will, but for capital. And if you're concerned about warm network, go create 10 shorts right now specific to your need. Just 10 short videos, put them out there, put them into, I'm going to say LinkedIn, because a lot of the investors are on LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure.
You're no longer cold. They're going to know who you are, and they might actually like you before they meet you.
That's true. That's a very good point. No, that's a great point, actually.
100 a day, 30 days, 10 shorts, go.
I'll tell you, 100 a day, 30 days, the shorts, that's a lot. I'd rather just come join StartupStage. We're getting kind of to the end of this podcast, man. And a lot of information has been shared, but we're kind of coming to the very end of this, which is, kind of the end also of fundraising, right? And kind of what really where people either seek investment or maybe, get invested or not invested, right? So it's always like how to take on the criticism, if you will, and how to handle some of the difficult questions and objections that investors may throw at people, right? So they spent all this time putting this pitch deck together, and they've got all their ducks in a row, and everything's all beautiful and everything's gone off, and then it's usually that one question rifled from the dark, behind the table of people, looking at the product, and it's like, wow, where'd that question come from? And then there's like a deer in the headlights, right? So how do you recommend handling something like that?
We talked about it earlier. You're going to want to use the feel, felt, found. Like anytime someone's taking money out of their pocket, they're going to feel really awkward about this. Let them know, like, look, I feel awkward asking about this. So you got to resonate with them. You got to have that personality. Look, I feel awkward. I know it's going to be challenging. And I would use a lot of the, and yes, not but. So that's an improv thing that people used to do all the time. So they say, this is really crazy. I think that feature there is crappy. I don't think you're going to make it. Yes, I agree with you. And here's how we're going to address that going forward. So you're taking that no and turning it into a yes. You're taking that negativity and turning it into positive. And, I'll sort of say this, like, look, if there's just a little bit of FOMO in there, they're going to want to be involved, especially if they're asking you questions that are more on the, how do you de-risk this thing for me? Right? That's what they're really saying. I don't think it's going to work. I'm not sure if I want to reach in my pocket and pull out my checkbook today. Yeah. You haven't de-risked it enough for me on paper or in demo or in your personality. I might love you, but I don't love your idea. I might love your idea. I don't love you. But no matter which one it is, if the risk, the third piece of this trifecta is out there and it's so big and scary and you haven't solved it for them, if you don't de-risk it, they're going to have objections all day long. So how do I handle it? Do not get defensive. Ask questions and understand the root of the question, which oftentimes is de-risking. Respond with clarity and metrics or provide updates over a period of time. Hey, we added this many users. Hey, we got this much this. We added these features. And now every no is a chance to refine your pitch, keep the door open, make the product better, make them involved. You want to pull them in, right? Like you want to suck them in to the point that they think it's their product. Those are my last 3 ideas. That is fantastic. I'm in. So every no
that's great.
Chance to make it a yes.
That's amazing, man. That's actually that's a really smart way to like turn your no's and make them an advantage instead of a disadvantage, right? And I look at no's as not right nows, right? Like it's not like I'm never going to do it or it's not ever going to happen. But if somebody decides, hey, I'm not ready to invest in this company, I'm not ready to join the startup stage right now. Okay, that's all right. Like it, but maybe at some point you will, or maybe you'll know somebody, and maybe in a little bit. But like again, people have to think through different things, right? So I think that's awesome.
On no's, there's 2 things I think is the not now, which we talked about, and that is follow up, give them more data points, just touch base with them because maybe they don't actually have dry powder. I hate that term, by the way, Jeremy. They don't have money. They don't have money to spend now. They've allocated all their funds. You can look at the big VCs. They've blown their funds typically by April. Wow. That's what they say. It's like 83% or something of the funds are pre-allocated by April every year. But so it's not now because maybe I'm not ready. I'm scared or I don't have the money. And for you, it's next. I want, and someone told me this a long time ago, it takes 12 to 13 no's. I think he said 12 and I made it 13 because it's like a weird unlucky but lucky number. But 12 no's to get a yes. So say next. Hey, Jeremy, I know you're not in right now. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I'll chat with you later on. I'll follow up and send you some details. And they're like, why is he so happy? I just told him no to his dreams. What is wrong with that boy?
I thought I crushed this guy. Why does he keep coming back?
It's like, next.
That's the greatest.
And I had a friend that did that to me, and he challenged me. He says, bring me your list. I'm like, okay. He says, it needs to be 1,000 people by next Friday. Okay.
Wow.
He went through the list, made sure that all the numbers were there. He says, on Tuesday, we're going to sit in a parking lot and we're going to call them all. Wait, too late. I already gave him my list physically on paper, by the way. And we sat down and he's like, call them. And you know what it was? Next. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. No, not next. You actually want a meeting? Oh, okay. Let's go. And so he taught me the power of no to next.
Let's wrap this up with a really quick question. Well, maybe a quick question, but to kind of just give people, listeners out there, right, founders that are listening or watching this right now, in the next 90 days, what should they do when it comes to funding, right? So they want to get funded within the next 90 days or in the next 90 days, they're looking to be funded or they've got those plans. What should they do first? And what is the most important so that they can get the biggest return on their time?
Yeah. The things we talked about here today, you want to put your plan on paper, wherever stage you're at, document it, put your team together. And I think of it as almost like the pitch deck. The problem, and I'm going to use a movie trailer just so people get this. Movie trailer models work. We all go to the stupid movies and spend our 10, 20 bucks just to get in the building. Even if we don't really want to, we just keep doing it. I don't get it. But let's just think of the last sort of Marvel. They do it every time. Problem. The world's going to be destroyed by this big, scary person, thing, whatever. Pains. This is what's going to happen. This is going to hurt. We're all going to suffer. The impact. Well, the world's going to be blown up. There's nothing left. The ideal outcome is we're going to provide a solution, a plan, a technology, a weapon, whatever to save the world. Then we go into the ideal outcome. We're going to save the world. Look at this. I assembled the Avengers. Yeah. Why don't you come join us? That's your ask, right? Yeah. So you've got the plan in there and you got the ask. That's what your deck should look like. Your investor outreach model should be basically the same. You should be telling them all the wonderful things that you want to do. This is my plan. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to save the world, change the world, whatever. And this is the team that we're going to do it with. And it's called X, Apple, whatever you want to call it. I shouldn't use X because it is a thing.
It is, yeah, actually it is. Well,
but maybe that's how they did it too. But what I want you to do is go back to the beginning of this conversation or grab the short from this, whatever it is. Grab the document. If you want the report, we'll give it to you. We've got it. This is all our questions are here for you as well. But I will tell you this. Put that short plan together as condensed as you can. Create 3 to 5 very simple, short, one-sentence messages. Outreach to 100 a day for the next 30 days. If you can't do that, just do 10. 10 a day. I don't think that's enough, by the way, but you just got to do it.
Yeah.
If you can't do it, implement technology to do it. Record 10 shorts right now all about why you're doing this so people can resonate with you. And I mean, that's kind of a rough way to, it's short and condensed. There's a lot of things in between there that I would tell you to do. Have a plan, have your end goal in mind. What do you really want out of this? Execute the outreach, take those cold outreaches, turn them into warm outreaches, invite people in to use your product or invite them to join you on the journey and save the world with you. But here's the punchy version, Jeremy. Book a strategy session with guys like us. Join the community, get in, get all these steps in order, get a whole whack of tools that would far surpass what you think you're going to spend right now. They're going to be way better, way faster, way stronger, and way cheaper when you do it with StartupStage. We have an incredible savings community in there for you for tech.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you got me on LinkedIn, I'm not hard to find. It's the guy with the big smiling face, big head. Or on X, DM me the word raise. And we'll send you our fundraising playbook so you can get started.
That's cool.
No strings attached. DM me or DM Jeremy, raise or fundraising playbook, and we'll get that to you.
Yeah.
And we'll give you a link if you want to book a strategy session with us just to brainstorm, just to come up or validate your idea.
100%.
We'll do it. And we might even give you the funding application for free so you can get some funds before you get started.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things too, and that's a great way too, is, build is our lowest level, obviously our entry level, but you're still getting that one-on-one with a co-founder once a month, plus all the other tools and stuff. But it's a 3-day free trial, man. If it, get a chance, just take a look at it, jump in, set up a meeting with Patrick, set up a meeting with myself, and just see what it is that you don't know. Test us, see if it's something that you can actually benefit from, because most people don't know the costs of time. When you're focused on things that are free, like certain communities that really eat up time, which on average is 7 hours per week. If you're trying to send 100 messages a day in 30 days, like, you don't have 7 hours to burn,
You need
right?
some automation.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, and then you come to a situation where we've done all the legwork for you. All you have to do is just come be a part of it. And we're here to help you scale faster. It's incredible, the amount of people that we have. I mean, Patrick, you're one of them, man. We're so blessed to have you as a part of our team. The hardest part of really putting StartupStage together was finding the right people.
For anyone that hears this, sees this, reads this, if you go to LinkedIn, you type in McGuire P, McGuirp, and you DM me raise or fundraising playbook, I will send you our fundraising playbook, and I will give you not backstage passes. You don't have to be a member. I will give you a fundraising strategy or product company validation fit strategy session. Whatever you want out of that, I will give them the link to get a strategy session with me for free, Jeremy. No strings attached. This is just about whether or not you want to brainstorm, you have a wacky idea, but you got something legit that you want to work on.
That's awesome. That's an incredible value, because I know how much you cost. So that is huge. That is absolutely huge. So for anybody, honestly, that's an absolute huge offer from Patrick. So thank you for that, man. But that's what makes you great, man, is, again, you just want to help people and help them grow. So thank you so much for the time today, man.
Thank you, man. This is awesome. We're going to do great things, and hopefully we get everybody on the startup stage as things grow. Hopefully get them backstage where we can help them out, and we can be in the background and the wings, if you will, and make an impact and help a lot of others. That's important.
100%, man. Well, until next time, buddy. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeremy.